Okay, so oh man, this is me being a goofball again. Yeah, so here I am. I'm in my robe and my pajamas. And uh, I'm doing this because of the topic for today, which I put out a post. I don't know if you guys even see these posts, right? But hit replay if you're watching the replay. So I am explaining that you'll see why. Because of the topic today, I'm actually wearing my bathrobe and my pajamas. And part of it is because it's dreary outside. It's rainy. It's kind of cold. I didn't actually want to get changed and get out of my pajamas. And if you notice something, I even have my pajamas inside out. And the reason I do is because the tags, I mean, they're not tags, they're actually little strings that I can't seem to remove that bother my neck. So, yeah. And as you can see, I don't have one of those pair really silky, glorious, glamorous pajamas. Yeah, no, I don't. So I'll probably have to repeat this when more people come on. But if you're just hitting the replay right now, I wanted you to know that right off the bat, it might make more sense as we go on with the broadcast of why I am still in my pajamas. Okay? So, hello. People are starting to come on. Please say hi. Let me know who's here. I know I won't call on you. Oh, hey, Neil. How are you? Hello, Christina. Neil, how nice of you to try to get on even though you're at work. Yeah. And I know you oftentimes watch the replay. Hello, Christina. Who else is on? I see more of you there. And I'll explain to you guys in a minute when a few more people come on why I'm in my pajamas. All right. I might not need to even explain it, but this is my bed head. You see, I haven't done my hair. I haven't put on my makeup. I am au natural. Au natural. Yep. Uh, okay. I see a couple people dropped off. I might have scared them because I'm not in, I don't look good today, but yes, I'm allowed. I'm allowed. Today we're going to be talking actually, for those of you who are here right now and the replay, we're going to be talking about a topic that has been coming up a lot with my coaching clients, a lot with people who have been on the broadcast. I have struggled with this my entire life, and I'm happy to say that I've gotten a great deal of victory over this. Not entirely. It still comes up from time to time, but it's the topic of feeling unworthy. Somebody asked in one of the Facebook Lives, well, I think maybe on day 2, it could have been Trish. How do I increase my sense of inner worthiness? And why is that even important? What does that have to do with love? What does that have to do with how we move and operate in this earth? Right? But that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about our sense of inner worthiness and trying to understand why so many people struggle with it. All right? Christina says, you assume, oh, my pajamas, it's an illustration of real life, or it was a long night, especially considering you have a little toddler in your life. Uh-huh. It could be those things, yeah. Who else is on? I'm going to address it in just a minute, but thanks for taking a stab at it, Christina. Thanks for taking a stab at it. Okay, so 5 minutes in, let's get going. I'm wearing my pajamas today because we're talking about the issue today of how to increase your sense of worthiness. And a lot of times people who are visible look really good, or they I try to look my best when I come on, to tell you the truth, but I wanted you to know that my worth and my value is not in how you guys perceive me. All right. So I came in my pajamas because I felt like coming in my pajamas. I didn't feel like doing my hair today. I didn't feel like putting on makeup. And as you can see, my pajamas are turned inside out. I'm even wearing my pajamas inside out. And I don't have one of those gorgeous sets of pajamas with the beautiful, like I love them, the silk and the oriental and the bird of paradise and all of that. But quite frankly, when it's cold out, which it is for us, it's rainy and damp, they're not comfortable. They're not comfortable. So I am comfortable today and I'm showing up this way. So hopefully it's not going to get in the way of you hearing what I have to say today, because today what I'm saying, I think is very, very important. Hi, Trish. Hey, Dee. It's good to see you. And there's my hubby. Trish, we're actually going to be talking today about an issue brought up, and that's how to increase your sense of inner worthiness. But before I do that, I want to outline for you. We're going to cover it today, and we're going to cover it for maybe some days to come, because it's an important topic. It is pervasive. This is pervasive throughout our culture and the world. Thank you, Jen. It's good to see you. Yes. I'm being real today. There's nothing going on here that's not real. I told my husband that I said, I'm going to show up in my pajamas, and even with my pajamas turned inside out. And you know what he did? He laughed and he says, I love that. Right. My husband is so supportive. So I wore my sweatpants to work today. I couldn't stand the thought of jeans and the pain flare running in the background. Yeah, you got to be comfy. You got to be comfy. It's too bad that all of us can't be just comfy dressing, being exactly who we are, right? So how do I increase my sense of inner worthiness? Tell me, is anybody brave and bold enough, either on the replay or you guys, tell me, do you ever struggle with that? Do you ever struggle with that? And I'm actually going to give you some help to identify whether you actually do or not, but I want to know where you are at right now. Right now, do you ever struggle with your sense of worth? Now, the truth of the matter is, you couldn't be any more worthy than you are. God has made you infinitely worthy, but accepting it, receiving it, walking in it, living in it, feeling it. Now that's a whole different matter. And you can be a really strong believer. You can know Bible verses coming out the yin yang, all right? You can have them memorized and still not address this sense of worthiness. And you know what? Sometimes in churches, pastors, they don't address this too much, all right? And in fact, sometimes, and I really want you to be on lookout for this, sometimes we can have our sense of unworthiness. We can come out of church feeling more unworthy than when we came in, all right? So I'm not saying that's the case where you go. All right. I'm not saying that's the case where I went, but I know that happens a lot. And the reason I know this is because I work with a lot of high achieving believers, people of faith, not just Christianity, but all different kinds of faith. And in their circles of spirituality, they oftentimes have come away feeling less than when they went in. All right. So who wants to fess up here? And if you don't struggle with this at all, hallelujah. Please let us know that too. All right. Christina says, absolutely. Everyone struggles with this, I think. Certainly more than we realize. More than we realize. And Trish says, I'm better than I was with your help. Oh, thanks, Trish. Yes, we have worked on this. But, if you're like me, you get a revelation, you understand what this is about, but some of the stuff comes at a very young age, and we don't even understand that that's what's happening. But today I want to uncover some of that, because I want you guys to be as free as possible so that you can receive the love and attract the abundance and fulfill your purpose. Those are three huge things Love, abundance, and purpose. Love, abundance, and purpose. And feeling unworthy or less than can get in the way of that. Okay? So let's get into it. Let's get into it. This feeling of unworthiness, is kind of paradoxical. And the reason I say that is because we need a sense of worthiness to receive love, to receive the blessings of God, the promises, the abundance. We need a sense of worthiness, right? But we have difficulty receiving because we don't feel worthy. You see the problem there? See the problem there? Mm-hmm. Jen Alice says, I'm just getting better at this, finally at 50. Hey, never too late. There's a long way to go and a lot you can do. That's right. I'll send you the message my son sent me to pull out of my low moment. Yeah, you know, I think my son has been used in that way where he says, Mom, if you don't get out of this, I'm going to tell your dad on you. Like, I'm going to tell your father. Right? Yeah, just 2 nights ago. All right, cool. So I'm going to give you kind of 6 points here real quickly that we're going to cover. Not all of them today. All right, because I don't want this to go on too long. But Sunday's a pretty good day to kind of get a lot in, and then we'll reinforce it over the course of the week. Okay. So, number one, it starts by understanding what this is and where it comes from. We're going to mostly focus on this today. What this is, I'm talking about. What is this thing about unworthiness? All right. We're going to talk about that today, where it comes from, why it's so prevalent, and how does it show up. It's very insidious. It's very insidious. But there's also this. While that's all good to know, having a greater understanding is going to help you to be more compassionate with yourself, because there's a lot of self-judgment, which is anti-love, by the way. Self-judgment is anti-love. Self-judgment is I'm not receiving love from myself. Compassion, self-compassion, is I'm receiving love. I'm giving love and I'm receiving love, either from God, from others, from yourself. All right. So self-judgment, self-criticism is anti-love. I want you to see that. So getting understanding is going to help you to be more compassionate, more loving towards yourself, but it doesn't rewire your brain and it doesn't remove the fear. That's something that's actually done in the head and in the heart, both places, and it requires something deeper. So as we go on in the course of the week, I'm going to give you more tools, more tips, more perspectives and awareness. So hopefully by the end of the week, if you're still with me, and that's a big if, I get it. It's a big if. If you're still with me, you are going to be soaring, right? Or at least you're going to have broken through some kind of obstacle and feeling more empowered and enlightened and lighter, all right? So we want to have hearts that are open to receive, but there's a lot of reasons why it's not. And one of them is because we don't feel worthy, okay? All right, so let's unmask this a bit. I've done a tremendous amount of research on this issue. And really, Brene Brown said it really succinctly, and I think most of you are very familiar with her. She said that this is really the sense of the emotion of unworthiness is shame. The emotion of unworthiness is shame. Yes. And that means intensely painful feeling or experience of believing that we are flawed and unworthy of love and blessings. Somewhere along the line, we got the idea that we're flawed. There's something wrong with us. We don't deserve, we're unworthy to receive love and blessing, right? Another author, another psychologist said, many of us are walking around in a trance of unworthiness. It's a gnawing feeling that we're deeply flawed. It tells us we're not worthy of love, happiness, success, or approval, and it follows us around like a shadow. Now, there's a lot of people out there who are what we call shadow workers, all right? Because there are these things that hover. They hover like a shadow, and they affect our success in life, our happiness. It's incredible how many people are out there with anxiety disorders and depression and stress. And a lot of it is because they feel unworthy. They feel not good enough. They feel inadequate. When they face a problem, what happens? Anxiety comes up, worry comes up because they feel inadequate to take care of the problem. They don't even understand the connection of how love can help them solve that problem. And that's another thing I want to do over the course of the month is help you to see how love specifically helps with certain problems and empowers you to solve certain problems, to answer questions, to flow in greater abundance and spaciousness and expansiveness, right? You guys want that, don't you? Right? Don't you want that? Don't you want to be like flying above your problems rather than just like stuck in the molasses and the milieu and the what do they call that? Quicksand. Quicksand. That's what it feels like sometimes. So, here's some sources, and I don't know if you guys will identify with this. Here's some sources of shame, low self-worth, and shame. There's 10 of them. And I want to tell you right off the bat, I experienced 9 of them. 9 of them. There's only one here that I haven't experienced, right? So, number 1, the source, disapproving or overly critical parents or other authority figures like teachers, coaches, often accompanied by intense pressure for achievement. Okay? Disapproving or overly critical parents or other authority figures. Now, I'm not telling you all this because I want you guys to get down in the dumps here, all right? This isn't the point. The point is so we can unmask this, we can disempower it so that we can move forward. That's the whole point. Number 2, uninvolved, distant, or preoccupied parents or other caregivers. Uninvolved, distant, or preoccupied parents or other caregivers. Number 3, frequent comparisons to siblings during childhood, leading to feelings of inferiority. We had 6 kids in our family growing up. There was a lot of comparisons going on. Excessive praise by parents for performance or abilities versus effort and process. That's an interesting one, isn't it? Excessive praise by parents for performance or abilities. I didn't get that one. All right, that's the one missing here for me. Too much unhealthy conflict in the home. Many children absorb those negative emotions and attribute the conflicts to their own faults or failures. I've seen a lot of that. Childhood experiences with taunting, bullying, or ostracism. Childhood experiences with taunting, bullying, or ostracism. A lot of times, if you feel like you are too odd, like some of the people, the attendees on these broadcasts have said that they have felt too odd. Like one woman said that her mother made her feel like she got stuck with her, right? To feel like you're so different and you're so odd that you're defective is something that you can carry with you through your whole life. And it can be really, really hard to go move in and out of life. It can really be hard, okay? Overprotective parents, leaving children unprepared for challenges. Now that may look like a lot of love, but if your parents were too overprotective. And once again, I want to point out here, this is not a blame and shame your parents thing, all right? That will not help you whatsoever. So if you look at all of this and you say, damn, what a load of crap I was given, and you start blaming your parents, or nobody is raised with perfect parents and in the sense of perfection. They aren't. So that's partly why the whole world, we're expecting perfection out of ourselves and out of each other when we're not raised with this. So we got to give each other a break, give your parents a break, all right? But at the same time, you have to understand the messages that you received, what you learned in childhood. It doesn't even matter if what you learned wasn't taught to you, but it's what you gleaned from the experiences. That's what's important here. And how has what you've gleaned, the messages that you've received about yourself, how does that hinder your ability to receive love and thus your faith and thus your success in life? Okay? That's what we're looking at here. Can't stress that enough. School setbacks or failures leading children to feel flawed and stupid. I will never ever forget. I come from a family of a lot of smart people in it, but I'll never forget in fifth grade, I told my husband this. I got my first F, and I remember it so clearly because the report card was white, the print was black, and the letter F was in red in big capital letters, and it's big circle around it. That's all I saw. It's emblazoned in my mind. F, failure, right? Okay. Some of these things happen. Societal expectations and pressures, including unrealistic portrayals of life and beauty from social media. Okay, there's a lot of body shame out there because of those kinds of things. Instagram has just done wonders to help the rest of us feel just awesome about how we look and our wrinkles, right? Trauma and abuse. Okay, trauma and abuse. All these things are sources of low self-worth, are feelings of unworthiness. I don't know how many of these things you guys have had, but I hope that you were checking them off if you did. Okay. There's hope. Believe me, there's hope. But I want to uncover the problem first. So, all right. So I read to you what Brene Brown had to say about it. This article here about it. What are some of the consequences of this low self-worth? Unhappiness, stress, anxiety, emotional distress, lowered resilience in the face of adversity. You feel inadequate to meet the challenges of life. Of course, we know addictions, alcoholism, substance abuse. Here's one, lower salaries in part due to a lower inclination to negotiate for better compensation. Right? Now, sometimes when we think, I got to do this, I got to negotiate for a better compensation, but you don't have the inner worth to match it, you present an incongruent front, and you're wobbly. And that wobbly energy is felt by everybody, right? So that's why we want to have a secure inner worthiness. And you already have worth, so it's really your sense of it. It's not like we're going to increase your worthiness. We can't. We cannot increase your worthiness. We can only increase your sense, your appreciation for your worthiness. Okay? Big difference. And of course, stifles your potential for growth. You feel disconnected from others. That was a big problem for me, disconnection. When you feel less than, you don't like to show up. When you feel less than, you don't like to be visible, right? But let me tell you something about that. And this is a book that I used a lot back in the days when I was doing a lot of coaching and counseling in the church. And it's called Shame. Can you see it? Well, anyway, Shame Off You. That's the name of it. Shame Off You. And it was written back in 2005, I think. So it's been around way before Brene Brown. All right. Yeah, 2005. So, we've been thinking about shame and talking about shame for a long time to the point where I kind of got sick of it. I actually got sick of it, but it keeps surfacing. It keeps surfacing in my clients and people who really want to do big things in the world, right? And they just continue to run up against walls, bump their head against ceilings. Their potential, it seems to be limited, right? It has a lot to do with this. Yeah. So Christina, when you had an ex-spouse, so the shame that you experience, now you might not know where your shame comes from, right? Maybe you do. But what happens is when we have that opinion of ourselves, that low worth opinion of ourselves, we can do a lot. People do a lot of things to try to compensate for that, right? They're very motivated to prove themselves, to be better, to be perfect in the eyes of people, to perform highly. But most of the motivation is to feel better about yourself. But a lot of times it doesn't work. A lot of times it works. It doesn't work. A lot of times what happens is you get into the same kind of relationships over and over and over again in situations where you're like the scrub lady. All right. You're at the bottom of the barrel. Your needs are at the bottom of the barrel. And partly it's because you don't have this deep, deep inner sense of worth. Okay. All right. So listen to this. Perhaps the worst calamity of shame upon our souls is not that it puts most of us in the gutters or the rehab centers, because not everybody who feels shame ends up there, right? But that it keeps us from fulfilling the destiny we have been given by God. That's my hot button. It keeps us from fulfilling the destiny we have been given by God. We cannot fulfill the assignment on our lives to be a blessing to others if we cannot allow ourselves to be blessed. Until we are rid of shame-based thinking that tells us that someone else could do the job better, that someone else's idea should be used, or someone else is better qualified, then we are not fully available to God. True submission requires us trusting God in the pits and on the pinnacles. Most shame-based people can accommodate a prison, but can you take a throne? Can you take a throne? Let that sit a minute. Can you take your throne? You have a throne. It's not humility to say, "Ah, shucks, I think someone else should be on that throne." It's a shame. It is shame. It's not pride to say, "Yes, I will wear the robe and the ring." It is wholeness. It is wholeness. Let's just pause for a second. It may sound good to take the throne, your throne. I don't know. Can you hear that in the background? Our little guy loves to scream. He loves to roar. He loves to he gets like either so excited or expresses extreme dissatisfaction. And all of it's delightful. All of it's delightful. I'm not sure everybody else in the world appreciates it, but we think it's delightful. We think he cannot do any wrong, honestly. And I think, oh my gosh, if we could just go through life like that, because that is how God thinks of us. That you, think of this. You cannot do wrong. You can't do wrong. You always have the approval of our Lord, always. And that gets so separated in a lot of teachings out there, so separated that, you always have to be careful of this and be careful of that. And all the time we're worried about losing God's blessings, about doing something where we're not going to get it. His blessings to you are unconditional. Unconditional. Yes, Christina, he is expressive, just like his mama. You know my daughter, Rachel. You know her, and she is expressive. Jen, I have to remind myself I'm the daughter of the one true king. You are the daughter of the true king, and you're also a queen. You are royalty. And you see, royalty needs authority. Royalty needs to know how to use power. And you cannot use power. You will make bad choices if you are feeling unworthy. If you're feeling unworthy, God has already made you worthy. So We'll take more of that. We'll look more at that later. But for now, I really want you to understand how shame and unworthiness can get in the way of you fulfilling your destiny. It can get in the way of you fulfilling the promises of God, of you receiving abundance, financial abundance. I have seen many, many clients that once they get over, once they understand this, once we identify what's the specific source of their unworthiness, because it's always there. If they're stuck, it's there. Once we identify the specific source of it, all right, and then we understand how to rewire and how to reframe and how to tap into their heart and the truth, do you know what happens? Sometimes their income always increases, sometimes to the tune of 2 and 3 times, sometimes way more than that. And we didn't know that that was the missing piece. All right. And I'm not just trying to draw the analogy here to money, to draw the parallel, and the result is money. But I will tell you, if you don't have a strong sense of self and sense of worth, it will affect your income. It will affect your income, and the amount of money that you receive is going to affect how you work and operate in the world, not just what you have, but what you share. Okay? So this is important stuff. Okay, so comments. Anybody have any comments about this? If there's any question about whether it's in your life or not, what can we do about it? If it's so deeply entrenched, is there any hope? And just leave those questions out there for a minute. Jen, you were talking about how you have grown a lot in this regard. All right. And that does happen as you get older. It's an interesting thing because they have done a lot of research about people who have struggled with anxiety disorders, etc. And by the time a person gets to 60, the percentage of people struggling drop dramatically. Okay, so about 30 to 35% of people in the world struggle with anxiety and stress. And I think a lot of it is related to this, of feeling inadequate to the tasks of life. They feel inadequate in themselves, right? But when people get to about 60, it drops off to just of all the people that are experiencing it, only about 9% of the people are in their 60s. A lot of them are in their teens, a lot in their 30s and 40s. And 50s, it starts, the anxiety starts to decrease, believe it or not. And 60, it decreases quite a bit. And I think it's because by that time, we've actually got a lot of perspective. But we can feel unworthy for other reasons like ageism, right? Ageism. Okay, looking here for somebody, any thoughts? Is this a topic that is worthy to talk about? And have the courage right now just to let me know. Because, honestly, I don't want to be putting this out there, even though I do believe this is what the Lord has assigned me to do for this week. You may not be the people who need it. Right? That's okay. Okay, Trish says, definitely worthy to talk about. Something to look forward to. Oh, you're saying when you get older, right? Mm-hmm. Hubby says, yes, keep talking. Blah, blah, blah. A friend and I were just chatting about a very expensive to us, but popular item we can market. She finally decided to invest in one when she had the opportunity and shifted the mindset of who could afford this to someone may enjoy this and want one too. Absolutely. Absolutely. Jennifer Suzanne, hi, good to see you. Good topic needed in my 50s. Okay. Awesome. Well, every day we're going to take a little aspect of that, but I want to leave you each day with hope. All right. I feel worthy in my career, but not always in other areas of myself. Okay, good. It's good to understand what those areas are and why. Why would that be a trigger point? Why would you feel less than in that versus in another area, right? Neil says, very central and basic concept. Your statement about it's easier to go to prison than to sit on a throne hit home. Good, good. Hey, Debbie, it's good to see you. I know so many of you here have been in programs that I've done before. I think most of you have been in my 30 Days to Abundance, right? 30 Days to Abundance. Gosh, I haven't done that since 2018. Might need to do it again. I am, by the way, thinking of a 10-week program I'm starting to put together called Love and Abundance Boot Camp or Love and Abundance Breakthrough. I'm not sure. The other thing, too, and this isn't a sales pitch by any means, but I just want to let you guys know, I am going to be doing a retreat in Hawaii, April 24th through the 30th. So if any of you have any kind of interest in that, just let me know. Okay? All right. So here's the hope. Here's a piece of hope. All right. There's a lot of hope here. But Psalm 34:5. Psalm 34:5. Now, interestingly, most of the Psalms, as you know, were written by David, who eventually went on to be king, right? And David was very happy to be a shepherd boy tending to his sheep, fighting off lions and bears, and just basking in the intimacy of God, just the love for God. He had a heart for God. He was very happy to be doing that. Now, of course, as we know, he was mocked and scorned and belittled by his brothers because he was the runt of the litter, but God chose him. God chose him because of his heart. All right, not because of all his skills. He was not a great warrior, but God chose him to be king. And when God chose him to be king and put him in this elevated position to put him on a throne, before David could even get on that throne, he was often running for his life, living in caves, being demeaned, sought after to be killed, hanging around with a ragtag group of criminals, all right? I'm sure this kid is going, what the heck is happening here, right? I'm sure he did not feel like a king. And at some point, I think maybe 1 Chronicles 14, 15, in that range, he perceives himself as king. It takes years before David to perceive himself as kings. So in the Psalms, he talks a lot about his feelings, his love for the Lord, also his hatred of people sometimes, like, can you just kill him, Lord? His loneliness, his fears. I mean, he's all out there. But in Psalm 34, verse 5, I think you guys are going to like this. Maybe you've heard it before. Those who look to him, meaning God, are radiant. Their faces are never covered with shame. Another version, those who look to him for help will be radiant with joy. No shadow of shame will darken their faces. I like this one. They looked to him and were lightened, and their faces were not ashamed. The word faces literally means faces. It's countenance. It's your face. It's your presence. It's your face. It's your countenance. I'll never forget when I was feeling particularly low once. I asked God a question. I asked him a question about something I was really concerned about, and he didn't answer my question, but he answered what I needed. And what I needed was to feel his love. So he gave me a picture. And it was the two of us. Some of you heard this all right. He gave me, it's the first vision I ever had. And we were sitting under an apple tree. And he was holding my hand. And as he was looking at me, the light of his face shone on my face. And I looked in his eyes and they were gleaming. And what they said to me was, I am crazy about you. You're safe with me. You don't have to worry about that thing you were worried about. Not to worry. I love you. And there was, because I was feeling embarrassed. That's another thing for shame, when you feel embarrassed. Okay? You feel embarrassed. When you feel embarrassed, I was feeling embarrassed about something. It was like, look at me. Look at me. No need to feel embarrassed because we got this. We got this. So they looked expectantly to him and they became bright. Ooh, their faces are not ashamed. And one more. Those who look to him for help are happy. Their faces are not ashamed. All right. So, this is evidence that God wants us to look and see ourselves in his face. We want to see what he sees when he looks at us. But sometimes we have a bad idea of what God sees when he looks at us. We're not in touch with that feeling and that sense of radiance that when he looks at us, it is totally unconditional approval and delight. A lot of people don't like to go to God because they're afraid they're going to get a smack in the head, that God's going to somehow point out all their flaws and failures. All right? We're going to talk more about that also. There's a lot of people out there that teach you to accept your flaws and your failings. Like the key to get over this is to accept your flaws and your failings. I don't believe that. I think what you need to accept is your perfection, your glory. That's what God has given to you. Perfection, glory, approval. You need to spend some time on that. All right? So, people are always going to be fickle. They are. I'll give you an example. These calls that I'm doing. All right? I can't tell you how many people reached out to me. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're doing this. Yes, I'm going to be in. I'm in. And I was all excited. But there's not many of you who actually come to them. So I can form the opinion, if I'm not careful, I'm doing it wrong. I'm not any good at this. I don't know what I'm doing. People don't like me. Why don't I just quit? Where is the hole that I can go crawl into? Has anybody ever had those feelings and thoughts? Right? I have to always get back to love and get back to truth. Yeah. And that's spending time with the Lord and absorbing his words to me, absorbing his eyes, absorbing the love that he has for me, and get back to love, get back on track. Hey, Mary, good to see you. So right now, let's just all do some breathing and close our eyes. Okay. If you can, stop what you're doing. And I want you to visualize yourself a minute. Just visualize yourself sitting on your own throne, a throne that the Lord gave you. And he's putting a crown on your head. And he lifts your face up. And his eyes shine with joy and appreciation as he looks at you. And your face is all lit up. There's no fear. You're right where you need to be. You're right where you belong. Can you see yourself? There's a verse that says that we are a royal diadem in the hands of God. I didn't know what that meant once. But a royal diadem is an exquisite crown. Jewels and pearls. That's what God sees when he looks at us. And you may say, oh, that's great. I'm glad God looks at me that way, but my boss doesn't. My coworkers don't. The landlord doesn't. Okay? When we do that, what we're saying is that their opinion and their control over our lives, their control over our lives is greater than God's. We need to get into alignment with His opinion. So, see yourself on that throne. See God Himself crowning you. See glory all over you. See Him lift up your face and look into your eyes and touch your cheek as He says, "You are mine. Well done." Breathe, breathe. And if you're not in a place where you got to see that, all right, I would like you to rewatch this and in the comfort and quiet of your own place, your room, do it. Visualize it. Our hearts are powerful places when we give it something to work with, something real and positive, right? Okay. I can avoid prison, but sitting on my own throne is another story. Yes, Trish. I need to use the share feature more effectively. I have my alarm set every day for these. I've learned that strategy last year. Okay, good. Good. Baloney. You're loved. Thanks, Trish. I received that. I received that. I'm sorry that people aren't receiving the announcement that I'm on. How many of you actually got an announcement that I was going live? And Mary, I may have to add you to the list. How many of you got? Thank you, Jen. I appreciate that. I receive your love. I receive your love, Jen. Okay. Yeah, can you guys tell me how many of you actually got a notice? Okay, Jean did. All right. Jen gets reminders in the morning. Okay. I don't know how this works sometimes. So, okay. Well, let me know if you're not receiving notifications because then I will make sure that you're on the list. If you are, I'm always trying to make sure people are on the list, you know. Yeah, I got your name down, Mary. I'm going to check to make sure. I see. Okay, good, Christina. Okay, good, Debbie. Thank you. Yeah, it's okay if you don't come on. It's okay if you're late. I'm just wanting to make sure that the program is working properly. Well, thank you, everybody. Tomorrow we're going to continue on this. We're going to continue giving you reasons, uncovering why. Be thinking about this. If you journal also, I can hear my face. If you journal, this would be a good thing to journal about. All right. So I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. All right. Blessings. Jennifer, you get the email, but doesn't say the time. No announcement unless I'm logged in and went on. Oh, that's probably true. I don't know how to change that for you. All right. So if you want to be here, set your alarm. 12 o'clock Mountain, 11 Pacific, 1 Central, 2 Eastern. Okay? All right. Every day I'll be here. Every day I'll be here. All right. All right. Love you guys. Bye.